You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
So 3 strings are hanging out together, and they see a bar. And there's a sign on the bar that says, "We don't serve strings." And the first string gets all offended, and he goes, "That's crazy." He storms in there and demands a drink. The bartender says, "Wait, are you a string?" And the string says, "Yeah." He goes, "We don't serve your kind here," and he throws him out. The second string didn't like how the first string was treated. So he storms into the bar and demands a drink, and the bartender says, "Are you a string?" String goes, "Yeah, I am. What are you going to do about it?" Guy throws him out. So the third string says, "I got this." And he musses it up his hair, twists himself all around, walks into the bar. Bartender goes, "Hey, are you a string?" And he goes, "No, afraid not." Stay tuned for the Dan Wickline Show. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. It is March 1st. We made it. We made it to March 1st, everybody. Yay! Got an interesting show today. You know that my original plans went out the window when Kyle got sick. We were going to do a Comics Pro recap, and there wasn't anything obvious to fill in, but little things have trickled in, and it's going to be kind of a bit of a hodgepodge show. We're going to be kind of all over the place. So, but hello, Ed. Hello, Cool. And hello, Slipknot. Good to see you guys. We've got a bunch of news to cover. I have a deleted scene that I don't think a lot of people have seen. And I'm going to talk to you about a book I have out now. So that should cover our hour, right? If you guys have any questions, let me know as we get going. But I am going to jump into the news. But before I do, let me tell you about today's lineup. After this, we have Comics Collectibles with Rex and John. Always good to watch. After that is the new trivia interview and trivia show called 3T. And today's guest is Catherine Campania. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. And then that's going to do it. We had Henri is working on his latest book and has to finish that up. So there will be no Henri tonight. And our 360 Comics man is under the weather. So it's just going to be those shows tonight. So stick around for that. And let's go ahead and get started with the news. All right. Where did I put my notes? There we go. Okay, first, we know last night, this morning, today is the debut of Mandalorian Season 3. And while I'm not going to talk about the episode, yeah, COVID is kicking our butt. Hi, Nick. Oh, hey, Nick, how you doing? Triple B, Josh, good to see you guys. All right, so we're not going to spoil anything on The Mandalorian. I'm assuming you guys haven't seen it. We will talk about the show tomorrow along with the new Bad Batch, but there's been some interesting stuff having to do with it. Rick Famuyiwa, who we talked about yesterday, also talked to Polygon about a couple things, including who should wield the dark saber, and whether it should be Din Djarin or Bo-Katan Kryze. And this is what he had to say. I'm sorry, he actually took the deadline about this one. I think that's part of the question of the season. What does that mean, and what does it mean to be a Mandalorian? How does the culture of people that have so many different factions find ways to come together, or can they come together? The symbols and the things that make them who they are very important for each character. It has meaning, and those repercussions, whether it's Din's taking off his helmet or Bo losing the dark saber, have ramifications. This season is going to be about dealing with all of that. And he also talked about all these threads that they've been laying out over the last couple of years, bringing them together. He says, I feel there's the storytelling that Jon Favreau has been spearheading from the very beginning, has been slowly each season, each project, leading us to this, leading us to the third season. I think there are a lot of seeds that are planted, that are growing and are accumulating in this season. I feel like that's part of the feeling and the sense of things culminating. It really feels like a third act in some ways. Even though there's lots of story to tell, I think that's the feeling I have, is that you feel like you've been on a journey with these characters, and that journey is coming to a head this season. And I agree. I know that Jon Favreau has said that the scripts for season 4 have actually been written. And there is the overall story he's doing with all the shows that they're working on together. But this does feel like the culmination of the Mandalorian part of it. So Josh says, high hopes for Mando 3. Got to push out the memories of the Boba Fett show from my brain with something better. I have seen the new episode. I will say it's good, but it's short. So just be prepared for that. No spoilers or anything else. It's a very short episode, but there's a lot in it. So, okay. Now, talking about the timeline, Favreau cleared up some confusion about exactly when and how long this has all been taking place. And basically what he is saying is that the time for Din Djarin and Grogu is passing about the same way it is passing for us. The time between season 1 and season 2 was the time for them. Just like, between season 2 and their appearances in Book of Boba Fett to their appearances now, which is pretty interesting, because if you watched Book of Boba Fett and the resolution of Grogu going off and training with Luke, it kind of feels like he spent very little time with Luke. But if you do the math, you're looking at about 14 months that they were apart, that he was with Luke for about 14 months. 14 months using our calendar. Of course, different planets spin differently, so you don't know how many years it is for them. But it's so it's pretty safe to assume that Grogu has a little more training than it looked like he had. So when we see scenes of him using his powers, it makes a lot more sense that he's actually gotten more than a year of training. So, all right, we got some casting news. Karan Soni, who you guys probably know as the taxi driver in the Deadpool franchise, well, he's joining the MCU in a way. He has been tapped to play the Spider-Man India in the upcoming Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. The actor joins a stacked voiced ensemble with Shamik Moore coming back as Miles Morales, Haley Steinfeld returning as Gwen Stacy. Also, you got Oscar Isaac, Brian Tyree, Luna Lauren Velez, Greta Lee, Issa Rae, Rachel Dratch, Jorma Taccone, Shea Wingham, Jason Schwartzman, and Daniel Kaluuya. So they've all been announced for the movie already. So now we add Carr and Sony. Across the Spider-Verse is, of course, the follow-up to the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which grossed 384 million when it came out worldwide and won an Academy Award. Dopinder, yes, that was his name. Thank you. Worldwide, and won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature back in 2019. Seems like that was forever ago now, doesn't it? The Spider-Man India actually first debuted back in 2004. He came of age in the South Asian country as Pavitar Prabhakar. I apologize for slaughtering that name. Beginning to fight crime after gaining his Spidey powers from an ancient yogi. The character's story arc mirrors that of Peter Parker in most respects. So there's another version of Spider-Man we're going to see in the upcoming Spider-Verse. If you guys are fans of Dune, and I talk about Dune sometimes on here, I thought the latest incarnation of Dune was really good. I'm looking forward to the sequel. And of course, they have plans for a spin-off series, but things are changing with that. The HBO Max upcoming Dune prequel series, The Sisterhood, while production started in November, the series is going through some creative shifting right now and some turnover. Chernobyl executive producer Johan Rennick, who had signed on to direct the first 2 episodes, has now exited the project. A search is underway for his replacement, as production has been put on hold. Now, also actress Shirley Henderson, who had been tapped as one of the leads, is also leaving. Now, you might know Shirley as Moaning Myrtle from the Harry Potter franchise. Well, her role as Tula Harkonnen will also be recast. That is in addition to Diane Ademu-John, who had written the pilot script and had been the co-showrunner. She stepped down as the series production began to wrap up, and her co-showrunner, Alison Shepker, has become the sole showrunner for it. Now, Dune, the Sisterhood is based on the Frank Herbert classic novel, and it's set 10,000 years before the ascension of Paul Atreides, which is what the main Dune movies is talking about. And it follows the Harkonnen sisters as they combat forces that threaten the forces of humankind, and establishes the fabled sect known as the Bene Gesserit. So the Bene Gesserit are a group of highly trained women who are used as concubines and companions, and are given to the leaders of each rulers of houses and stuff. Usually take them for wives. It's similar to the way in The Witcher, the witches would be assigned to different kingdoms and stuff. But these actually marry into the head of the households. All right, let's go on over to Avengers: The Kang Dynasty. Now, that's getting a lot of talk right now, partly because we just saw Kang, and partly because Jeff Loveness, the writer of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, is writing Avengers: Kang Dynasty. So there are some people who look at the Ant-Man movie and they didn't like it, and they're worried about it, the Kang Dynasty. And there's other people who like the movie just fine and looking forward to Kang Dynasty. Well, he's been kind of hinting and saying stuff that are making people pay attention. Now, this was the interview I mentioned earlier about the Polygon. It was his interview with Polygon. Loveness suggested that the likes of Hawkeye and Moon Knight won't stand a chance when they meet many variants of Kang the Conqueror. He says, I wish Hawkeye all the luck against Kangs, and I'm sure Daredevil and Moon Knight are going to be great against those guys. Now, of course, a quote like that has people all over the internet suddenly going, oh, Daredevil and Moon Knight are going to be in the Avengers Kang Dynasty. There's a good chance. I don't consider that confirmation. That's just kind of some guy talking out of school, but I could totally see those characters showing up because I think it's going to be kind of a Thanos situation where it's all hands on deck. You know, when Steven turns to Wong and says, "Is that everybody?" And he's like, "You wanted more?" He wants more. He's going to want everybody. So, will Moon Knight and Daredevil show up in Kang Dynasty? I'm thinking probably. Is this confirmation? No. No, this is definitely not confirmation. All right. Some more casting news. If you guys haven't checked out yet, Gotham Knights on the CW, they have cast Joe Chill, the guy who's known for killing Batman's parents, and they've gone to iconic Pinhead actor Doug Bradley. So the guy that plays Pinhead in all the Hellraiser movies, he's going to play Joe Chill. I think that's kind of interesting casting. Now, of course, Joe Chill, you know, that's what he's known for, is cruelly gunning down Bruce Wayne's parents. This is a character who's been around for years. And other than Tim Burton's version combining him with the Joker, he's been a standalone guy, and it's going to be pretty interesting to see how they handle him on the show. Slipknot says, do you think Jeremy Renner makes his recovery that he will get a Hawkeye movie? A Hawkeye movie. I don't think he'll ever get a Hawkeye movie. Don't get me wrong. I would love it. I like Hawkeye. I would happily go see a Hawkeye movie. But I think that his show did very well. We just talked about it yesterday. I rewatched it on Monday, so that's what we talked about yesterday. I think it was a very good show. It's got really great ratings too. I mean, it's like 93% on Rotten Tomatoes as a fan score and 89% from critics. So, but I think there's a chance for another TV series if he recovers, or if he, and I definitely see him popping up in the Avengers movies. And I could also see him shifting if they decided to do a Young Avengers movie. I could see him playing kind of a mentor role. Because, if they put a Young Avengers team together, they're going to want to have somebody in charge of the team, an adult in the room. And I could see him being that character. So, JD says, I feel like that show was a goodbye to the character, passing the torch to Kate. Now, see, I don't. Because the characters coexist in the comics. I don't see why they couldn't coexist in the shows too. Slip says, I think a Hawkeye movie would do as well as Black Widow or better. No, I think there's a good chance that it would. Well, Black Widow didn't do that great, but it's hard to judge it based on Black Widow, because Black Widow had the whole date released tragedy thing. So Josh says Kang Dynasty could be his not like this moment. Yeah, I could see that. And his recovery stuff. I don't know if they'll ever give him his own movie. Again, I'm all for it. I have a soft spot for archers. Green Arrow is my favorite DC character. Hawkeye is one of my favorite Marvel characters. Daredevil's still my favorite over there. So I would absolutely love to see it. What I would love to see is, I would love to see them do like a special, maybe a Valentine's Day special or something, that shows Hawkeye and his wife back in action, as assuming she's Mockingbird or Agent 19, whatever we're supposed to take away from that ending. Would love to see the two of them working together on a case. I think that would be neat. And they could do that as a Valentine's Day special. You know, one of the married couples in the MCU. I think that would be fun. So, all right. Got one. A series of Hawkeye specials for every holiday. But see, no, it makes the most sense
for... I didn't quite catch that. Could you please say that again?
Sorry, I triggered my phone. Hawkeye makes the most sense for Valentine's Day because he's an archer and Cupid. So it says, just using Black Widow as an example, since Hawkeye and her are heroes with no superpowers. No. Okay, yeah, from that point of view, no, I think Hawkeye could do a good movie. I just don't know if they will. You know, I think they're more likely to do a Young Avengers and put him in it, or he'll be part of something. But again, I would absolutely be the first one buying a ticket if they do. So my gut says no, but my heart says I would love it. Hey, Kenneth. Okay, one more bit of news. Prime Video was set to release the trailer today for their new series, Citadel. It's a series from Anthony and Joe Russo, stars Richard Madden and Priyanka Chopra Jones, about a. Well, I'll tell you. I'll give you the readout of what it's about. But because of the train tragedy that happened overnight in Greece, they've decided not to release the trailer today because a chunk of the trailer takes place on a train. Now, in the statement, they said, out of respect for international community and due to yesterday's devastating breaking news from Greece, we are respectfully holding on sharing the official trailer for Citadel. Again, it was supposed to premiere this morning with the series showing up on April 28th with 2 episodes and then new releases every Friday through May 26th. Now, what is Citadel about? I have the write-up for it. It says, 8 years ago, Citadel fell. The independent global spy agency tasked to uphold the safety and security of all people was destroyed by operatives of Manticore, a powerful syndicate manipulating the world from the shadows. With Citadel's fall, elite agents Mason Kane, Madden, and Nadia Sin, Chopra Jones, had their memories wiped as they narrowly escaped with their lives. They've remained hidden ever since, building new lives under new identities, unaware of their pasts. Until one night when Mason is tracked down by his former Citadel colleague, Bernard Orlick, played by Stanley Tucci, who desperately needs his help to prevent Manticore from establishing a new world order. Mason seeks out his former partner, Nadia, and the 2 spies embark on a mission that take them around the world in an effort to stop Manticore, all while contending with a relationship built on secrets, lies, and a dangerous yet undying love. Sounds like a James Bond movie, but it's going to be a TV series. I have not seen Cocaine Bear. I'll probably wait till that pops up on one of the streaming services. But I am curious about it. So, and I will talk about it once I do see it. Did you see it yet, Slip? So, all right. We are going to take our first break. And when we come back, I've got a deleted scene from a movie that, like I said, there's a good chance most of you haven't seen. So we'll be right back.
Did you know that every Experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out. Twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
Comic Collectibles is here for you every Wednesday with AR Comics for 2 very important reasons. To sell you rare, one-of-a-kind comics that you'll love, and to confuse AR with old man talk. You see, Rex and John are, how should I put this, ancient as the roots of the mountains. So every week, Rex and John fill in AR in yet another area of pop culture that he missed because he's too young, just didn't have the time, or just really doesn't care about. It's a real public service they provide. Come buy some super rare and unique comics, while old men explain long-dead sci-fi shows to a younger man making that confused puppy face. Every Wednesday from 6 to 8 Eastern with Rex, John, and AR Comics. Comic Collectibles on The Experience. Comic culture and sales.
Programming on the EXP is made possible by viewers like you, or your local comic shop, or that Kickstarter you backed, or the publisher you like, or comic industry professionals who want to share a message with the world. Really, anyone who wants to advertise with us can. If you're interested in seeing a product you know and love, or are creating, or are publishing, or are involved with, advertised here on The Experience, and having your message shared with our viewers, please reach out by scanning the QR code below or visiting our website and using the contact form.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Remember to hit the like buttons down there. That would be appreciated. Also, subscribe. We're going to be giving away a ton, well, not an actual ton. We're going to be giving away 15 slabbed comics once we hit 1,500 followers or subscribers on YouTube. So if you haven't clicked that button yet, do it now so you have a chance to win. All right. So, Slip, you say you've seen Cocaine Bear. It didn't live up to the hype. Well, there was a lot of hype for a movie about a bear on cocaine. So, and it is based on a true story. So you can only fudge it so much. But I will check it out on Streamer. So let's see. JD says, I read an article that said, whatever movie you made up in your head when you heard the title is better than this. Nice. Nice. I totally get that. So I put on my Facebook page right after it came out. I said, hear me out. Cocaine Kaiju. Call me, Netflix. I think that would be a great movie. Ed says, I'm trying to find Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, but no luck so far. Yeah, that's put out by a pretty small distributor. And he's kind of funny because that distributor does those movies and religious movies and the Metropolitan Opera events. Not quite sure how you decide that's my niche. Those are the shows I'm doing. So, yes, Cocaine Kaiju. I think that would be the movie. You know, eats an airplane full of cocaine and just Cokezilla, nice. Sounds like their niche is low production cost. Yeah, that's probably true. All right, we are going to get to this trailer. Now, I had heard, not this trailer, this clip. I had heard about this deleted scene for a while now. It's part of Ant-Man and the Wasp, not Quantumania, the second movie in the franchise, just Ant-Man and the Wasp. And it's a cut scene that involves Hank and Janet working as Ant-Man and the Wasp. Now, the special effects, the de-aging is a little rough, and it ties into the accident that made the villain who she was, or gave her powers. So, it's a good scene because it shows why she's a little more adamant about going after the Pims. But this wasn't put on the standard Blu-ray. This only went out when Marvel put out that huge box set of the entire Infinity Saga. It had some deleted scenes that they put on there that didn't get released elsewhere. So this popped up on TikTok last night. I grabbed it, and we're going to share it here. So, now in the movie, we see we see I don't remember the character's name, but Ghosts as a kid talking to her father right before the tunnel explodes. So I don't know if that was a reshoot or if we would have seen this and then had a flashback to her coming in after they left. I don't know. I'm going to have to rewatch the Ant-Man films. I remember liking them, but I don't remember much about them. They came around in the middle of all the major titles. Yeah, I actually love the Ant-Man films. I think they have a good mix of humor and action. So I think they're really clever and fun, and they're not too heavy. They're always been kind of palate cleansers, after some big event. It's like, oh, and now we get an Ant-Man movie. So I thought they did a pretty good job with the de-aging here. I think they needed to lengthen Michael Douglas's face a little bit because the problem is the chin. They got the facial features right, but his chin seems off. So the sides of his chin and stuff. JD says, I think the big reason they decided to cut it was they decided they'd like to save the Michelle Pfeiffer reveal for the end. Yeah, I could see that. But no, because we get the flashback earlier on with her and Hank leaving. They did the scene that Scott sees through his eyes is earlier in the movie, and we see Michelle Pfeiffer there. So, no, I don't think that's the reason. It might have been that they felt they needed better footage to do it, or maybe they weren't going to do having the kid come in, and then they switched it so we see Ghost as a child and watching her father die type of thing, and how she's in the accident. Not quite sure. But again, that wasn't released as part of the Blu-ray. It was saved for the special Infinity Saga box set. And now I wonder what other scenes were there. That one has been talked about for a while. When it was put out, there was some still photos you could see. But this is the first time I was able to actually see the scene because I don't have that box set. And you can't find it online. And I don't know how the guy on TikTok got it and put it up, but I thought it was a pretty good scene, and I liked it quite a bit. So I'm not sure how that would have changed the movie, though. Yeah, I did like the fact that Wasp's costume actually had the skirt. You don't see it that much, but in this right before the thing blows up and they're like, we got to get out of here, you see the edges of the skirt on her outfit. And that definitely felt old school to me because Wasp's original costume had a skirt. So I thought that was cool. And I love the fact that in the new movie, spoilers if you haven't seen it, but when she turns on Kang and jumps back, and we see that she's still got the costume underneath her the other garments she's wearing. That I thought was pretty cool. Yeah. All right, guys. We're going to go ahead and take our second break. And when we come back, I've got a book that is now available that I want to tell you about. So we will be right back.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.
Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
You know how when you go to Comic-Con, after Comic-Con, you go to the hotel bar, and there's a whole bunch of people playing music and dancing, and you've got Pikachu and Lara Croft Tomb Raider doing the cha-cha slide just down from Deadpool and Batman and Wonder Woman? That's every Saturday night over on the Experience Twitch channel. Join Taji Beats for the EXP Dance Party, exclusively on Twitch, twitch.tv/the_EXP.
This is The Experience.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hey there. Hi there. Hello there. You're as welcome as can be.
Hi, I'm Nancy McCann. Welcome to Friday Night Live on The Experience.
Welcome everybody, it's Fat Jack's Comic Crypt. Brendan, Al, Jason, hanging out.
There I am. Welcome back to Kicking It with Henry, folks. I'm your host, Henry Compa. It's great to be here with you guys.
So we are going to talk about books that are in stores this week.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Mishmash.
Hello, and welcome to the Black Comics Universe, presented by Peep Game Comics.
And you gotta love it that the first people in the minute to skim it are creators.
Up, everybody! Welcome to another Wednesday Warriors. My name is Joey Galvez, and this is my pal Ambrosia.
Hey, everybody! Welcome to Space Cadet.
Hey!
What's up?
Welcome, everyone, for another episode of I Must Ask You a Question.
Hi, everybody! Welcome to Nerd News Now.
Hey, this is Rex. Welcome to Comic Collectibles.
Hey, hello, all you happy people. Welcome to the Dan Wickline Show.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. Is the crazy show that we do on Thursdays called What's in the Box? What's in the Box?
Comic Culture and Sales.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. We were talking about a lot of different things today. We just finished watching a deleted scene from Ant-Man and the Wasp, the second movie in the franchise. The first Ant-Man and the Wasp, but the second movie in the franchise. That's kind of weird, isn't it? It's Ant-Man and the Wasp, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Are they just going to keep building? So if there is a fourth movie, it's like Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, one more time. So Slipknot says, Pfeiffer is one of the few actors who've acted in DC and Marvel movies. I don't know if few is the term for that anymore, because it's getting to be bigger. More and more people are doing that. I mean, you can throw Sylvester Stallone in there, having played Starhawk in Guardians of the Galaxy and then voicing Killer Shark in Suicide Squad, Christian Bale. It's David Desmalchian. This one would have to be called Ant-Man and the Wasps. Just keep adding on. Yep. Or the next one's going to be Ant-Man and the Wasp and Stinger, or Stature, or whatever she's going to be called. And we'll just keep adding on till eventually it's just the Pym Gang. Yeah. But yeah, it's not as rare as it used to be to have an actor in both a Marvel and a DC movie. It's becoming more commonplace. And I think it's going to be even more so with James Gunn jumping over to the other side, because Gunn has this tendency to reuse people. You know, I mean, Nathan Fillion already counts, having done a cameo in Guardians as the creature that gets the thing shoved up his nose, and then in Suicide Squad as well. Pim Pals and Scott. Yeah, there you go. Ed says Ant-Man, Blood and Honey. I think it wants to take it a different direction. Ant-Man is a horror movie. Oh, that'd be weird. But he could totally do it, because he stands right behind you, and as soon as you turn around, he shrinks, so you don't see him. And then when you turn back, and takes it a little bit closer each time. Ooh. Yeah, that would be creepy. So, all right. You guys may have seen this book. The idea, if you'll show the cover. When Jim Beard was on a week or two back, he was talking about this. This is a book called The Old Origin Changeth, The Enhancement and Embroidering of Superhero Origins. A foreword by Dan DiDio, edited by Jim Beard. Though the covers, this is from when he was on the show, the covers actually changed where Dan and Jim's names are. J.K. Simmons is Jane Jonah James and Commissioner Gordon. There you go. So what this book is, Jim did a write-up on it. He says, the Old Order Changes is now live. First thing, the Old Order Changes is now live on Amazon, both print and digital. A far-off planet explodes. A shot rings out in a darkened alley. A weakling becomes a He-Man. A radioactive spider bites an unsuspecting boy. These are the beginnings of some of the greatest characters in the long history of comic books, set forever in stone for oncoming generations of readers to be entertained and inspire them. Or are they? Over many decades, comic book publishers have felt the crushing weight of passing years and updated and embellished their superheroes' origins to reflect changing appetites and sensibilities on parts of not only the fans who follow them, but the writers, artists, and editors who create their adventures. In other words, when what was good for one generation no longer works for the next, something has to change. The Old Origin Changes sets out to tell the origin saga of the origin stories of 6 of the most popular comic book concepts of all time: Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Captain America, the Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man. To this end, 6 comic book historians tackle these stalwarts of 4-color fantasies and dig down into their firmament to examine and illuminate the embroidery of the tapestries, featuring informative, engaging, and personable essays by Samuel Agro, Michael Bailey, Thomas Deja, Joseph Brandt Dilworth Jr., Frank Schindler, and Dan Wickline. Forwarded by Dan DiDio. Edited by Jim Beard. All right, so this book is it's an interesting concept. Jim got a hold of me for this. And the idea is that if you look at some of these origins these characters have had, they started off very, and have changed over the years quite a bit. And I don't just mean between the comics and the movies. I mean, you can look at the way the Fantastic Four has been portrayed in the comics and then in the movies, and the origin's different in all three of those. Well, it's a lot more to it. Now, my little corner of this book was Captain America. I got to go in and take a look, and I'm going to tell you about some of the things I found doing the Captain America story, just to show you the interesting stuff we came up with in case you want to get this book. And by the way, JD has the link that he can throw up into the chat. So when I started looking into Captain America, his basic origin we know is, 4F, can't get into the service. He becomes a volunteer for the Super Soldier Project, gets the injections or the formula, depending, grows into the Captain America we know. The professor is killed. Very straightforward story. We all know the story. But a lot actually has changed, and some of it was the times. You'll notice in some incarnations of the origin, he is drinking the formula. In other incarnations, he's being injected with the formula. The difference is when the book came out, they couldn't show an injection. They had to go with, at one point they had to go with the drinking because you couldn't show somebody being injected with a needle. But the biggest thing that struck me was there are two definitive versions of his origin. And they're basically the exact same story, but told by three different people. Captain America's origin, which took place in the early 1940s, was written by Joe Simon and drawn by Jack Kirby. And they had a purpose for doing this. They saw the Nazi army building up. They saw Hitler gaining power, and the U.S. was just sitting on the sidelines. They weren't getting involved. They weren't helping in any way. The closest thing they would do would be sell guns to the Europeans. They were basically, they didn't want anything to do with a world war or other countries' problems. There was a movement to be isolationists. And some people saw the threat, the existential threat Hitler was, and how just taking Europe wouldn't be it all, that he would eventually want to take over the whole world. And to get this point across, they came up with this Captain America comic. And it's written and drawn in such a way that it's this propaganda story to get people to want to back and help Europe. It's all the panels are done up close. It's this very claustrophobic feeling thing. And it's done, the wording and everything is all about how the Nazis could strike us here in America, how they could infiltrate our army and our corporations, and they could sabotage things. And again, it was all trying to push the narrative that we couldn't be isolationists anymore, that we had to stand up and fight, and we had to pick a side. And that was the purpose of the character. And when you read that first short origin story and everything that comes after that in the book, you see that. You can feel it. Then in the 1960s, when Marvel started having success with superheroes, and they decided to bring back some of the original timely heroes, Captain America became one of the obvious ones. And they brought him back in the Avengers comics, and then they put him into Tales of Suspense. And they did a couple issues with him in modern day, but they realized, oh, we should probably go back and do the World War II stories. That way, whatever he's doing with the Avengers doesn't interfere with his title, and vice versa. So what they did was they redid the first few issues of Captain America with Stan reworking the dialogue and Jack redrawing the books. And the visuals on these are night and day, because what they're trying to get across the second time is very different. So you don't have the claustrophobic panels. You don't have the big over-the-top propaganda. And they even go so far as to change the dialogue between Cap and Bucky when Bucky walks in on him. Basically, in the original, Bucky walks in, sees him as Captain America, and Captain America goes, well, since you've seen me, I guess you better be my partner. And in the modern version, or Stan Lee's version, Bucky walks in and basically threatens to blackmail Steve into making him his partner, or he's going to tell everybody who Captain America is, which, again, makes a lot more sense than Captain America is just going to randomly take a child into war with him. You know, but then the original Captain America was a much more violent character. He allowed people to die as part of his plan. He's like, oh yeah, I'm going to, you know, just let that guy die. That's what we want. Oh, you could have stopped him from taking that poison. Why? He's a bad guy. So I got to look at the original one and break it down very, very succinctly compared to the Reeve Dunn version that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. And Stan wasn't new to the character. Stan was working for Timely in the 40s in his teens, and was actually started working on the second or third issue of Captain America, doing prose backup stories, and then eventually starting to write the main character, or the main stories. And then when Joe and Jack ended up going off into the war, he took over writing Captain America altogether. So Stan had probably written more pages at that point, or before he ever wrote them in the 60s. Stan had written more Captain America stories than Joe Simon had, because he came on so quickly and took over. So if you guys want to hear more about it, see the whole breakdown, check out the book, The Old Origin Changeth. It's available now both in ebook and print. And I'm going to get a copy because I want to read the other 5 things. If I found all the things I found, I want to see what they found. So, all right, guys, thank you for tuning in. Tomorrow we talk about The Mandalorian's return and the latest Bad Batch episode. So it's a Star Wars day tomorrow. Be here. Stick around for Comic Collectibles coming up right now.
Why was Princess Zelda sad after watching a bunch of YouTube videos? She couldn't find the link in the description. We'll stop if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's super easy. Click subscribe and click the bell when you do